You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Far Ranger Locked On Cougs here. Talking about Houston Cougar basketball getting started. We officially on Thursday were told about the exhibition opener, October 26th at the Fort Bend Epicenter. Houston will be one of 4 teams participating in an exhibition to open up the season. Game 1, I say game 1 because they don't have to count on your resume or anything. They're exhibition games. But game 1, they'll be played out like a normal game with referees and the whole nine, will be between Arizona State and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to look a lot different without Buzz there, but that's going to be a little bit of a fun one to get there. It's a fun ticket. The second game is Houston versus Mississippi State. These Cougars get the Mississippi State, I would say the Hail States, but get Mississippi State out of the SEC to open up exhibition season. A little bit different look for them. This is exhibition on October 26th, the Fort Bend Epicenter. Looks like in online, I hadn't been to the Fort Bend Epicenter, but they seat anywhere between 8,600 and 10,000 people. I'd imagine with Houston and A&M being there, that does get pretty sold out pretty quickly. Seats go on sale on the initial market on August 8th. And so be on the lookout for that. I also think it's worth pointing out that Arizona State fans travel, as will Mississippi State fans. So keep an eye on this. Now, Mississippi State, as far as, scouting this, we will talk about this going into it as we get closer, and I'll try and get the Locked On Mississippi State crew on. But interesting basketball program. Coach Chris Jans has been there for a few years now and has been fairly successful in a couple of years there. He was a long time build up to being a head coach, like nearly 30 years as an assistant before he had his first job in 2015 at Bowling Green. And then he took the New Mexico State head coaching job at 2017. He was in Wichita State, somewhere there in the middle as well. And then he took this Mississippi State job in 2022, and they've been in the tournament 3 times since he's been there. I should point out that while he was there, they also had the at New Mexico State. They had made the tournament 3 times in 5 years. One of those 5 times there was no tournament. That's a big accomplishment for New Mexico State in such a short window. In the 3 years he's been at Mississippi State, they've been in the tournament each year. Last year they lost a close 8-9 matchup with Baylor. And Mississippi State should be getting used to Big 12 basketball because they'll see Iowa State, Kansas State, and Utah all in their non-conference slate this year. And so it'll be interesting to kind of see how Houston matches up with them and then transitive properly looking at how those individual matchups go as we go through the non-conference and get ready for Big 12 basketball as well. Now, most of Mississippi State's roster is going to be new, which is not uncommon for people in this tier of college basketball trying to elevate themselves out with the old and with the new. Bring in, I have down 4 incoming freshmen and 5 transfers, which is 9 people on a basketball roster. 2 of those freshmen to keep an eye on actually had Houston offers out of high school and are pretty talented kids to keep an eye on. King Grace. King Grace is from South Dallas. I guess both these kids are from South Dallas area. King Grace from Waxahachie went to Oak Cliff Faith Family. He is a long, athletic guard, jumps off the screen in terms of athleticism and motor. Very not a whole lot of tricks in his bag, just kind of goes with the things that works offensively, but really, really big athletic wing / guard. Cameron Paul is the other South Dallas guy from DeSoto. Both of these guys were 4 stars. Cameron Paul is just outside the top 10 in Texas in class of 2025. And I think, frankly, was kind of on Houston's radar before they realized they were going to have a shot at some of these big national prospects. And I think that's interesting that, anyway, Paul at DeSoto, both these kids are getting to play close to home to open up their college careers are pretty special. I also think, for what it's worth, if you're following recruiting trends, it indicates something about Jans trying to stay in Texas with his recruiting. He recruited Texas kids in New Mexico State. He recruited Texas kids at Bowling Green. I think, it goes to show that you can't win in college basketball without Texas kids. Now, Brandon Walker is a transfer in there from Montana State. Brandon Walker comes from Montana State and had a handful of Power 5 offers in the portal for his final year of college basketball. Here he's like 6'7". He's listed 250. If you told me 260, I'd believe you. Big, strong. He's called a power forward, but plays kind of in the low post. He is also from Oak Cliff Faith Family High School. He's just a few years removed from that. Obviously, he's entering his last year of college eligibility. He's a new face on that roster. Keep an eye on Quincy Ballard, and looking up and down that roster is a guy that jumped off to me. He was a 6'11", 250-pound center, a big guy from Wichita State, but was at Florida State before that. He never got to play against Houston because of just where he was in the rotation his college career. When Houston played Wichita State in the American, they didn't overlap a whole lot, but he was a highly touted guy in the portal when he got to Mississippi State, committed to Mississippi State. So that's a really big. But the name to know for them is not a new guy, actually, as much as a returning guy, and that is Josh Hubbard. Josh Hubbard's a rising junior, 5'10" guard from Madison, Mississippi. He was initially committed to Ole Miss. Their coaching change happened where they got Chris Beard. He didn't want to go with a new coach, opted to go to Mississippi State. But Josh Hubbard had a Houston Cougar offer at a high school, and would not shock you if he was a Houston Cougar. 5'10", not a giant, but guy plays stupid hard, crazy high motor for a little guy, and is just all the floor, diving on it, and all that kind of stuff on defense. Offensively, as a freshman in the SEC, had 17.1 points per game. Last season as a sophomore at 18.9 points per game, was second team all SEC. He, like Milo Suzanne, went through the pre-draft process, trying to see what his NBA prospects were like, ultimately backed out to come back to Mississippi State for his junior season. He was invited to and was at the same Chris Paul, elite college point guards camp that Kingston Flemings was at as well a couple weeks ago. And he's really a highly sought after kid at a program that I don't think we think about as producing NBA. Yes, Monte Ellis went there, and a handful of other NBA guys went to Mississippi State, but we maybe don't think of it as being this NBA caliber production factory or anything like that. I do think Chris Jans is a good coach. He's only been there a couple years. We'll see what kind of things he can do there. I do think they're the second tier program at state right now still, because I have a lot of respect for Beard. Whatever you think about Chris Beard as a person, he's a really good basketball coach. I know he and Sampson are close. They coach very similarly, and that's probably why I think so highly of Beard as a coach, honestly. But this is a good basketball program, kind of on the rise, and it'll be an interesting exhibition. And what's going to be interesting is going to be how close this game is, with Houston changing up some of the stuff they do. They obviously have a lot of new guys in their roster, but they've got this Hubbard kid that is just an electric scorer from all over the floor and kind of a one-man scoring machine whenever you need him, right? And I say whenever you need him because he can do the point guard thing as well, but whenever you need him, they got Josh Hubbard. And I think there's a chance that this exhibition is close. And unfortunately, there'll be people that your buddies that aren't listening to Locked On Coogs, why are we so close to Mississippi State? And they'll be really down in late October and early November about having a close exhibition to Mississippi State. And then I think we look up in January, and this Mississippi State team's really good, and they're winning SEC games, and we're suddenly oh, maybe that tells us a lot more about where the program was at than we realized it was. It was a positive step, right? But we'll talk more about the Mississippi State scrimmage, or exhibition, I guess I should say, itself as we get closer. Again, tickets are on sale very, very soon. October 26th is the day of the matchups. Arizona State and A&M open up with the first game in Houston, and Mississippi State will be in that second one in the Fort Bend Epicenter. A cool event for sure, and really kind of an exciting way to kick off, or tip off, the basketball season, right? Not every day you get to play a Power 4 team with a pretty strong resume or a future pro on it. And getting to open the season like that is a pretty special thing. Now, speaking of special things, there's some Big 12 stuff going on yesterday, Thursday, and kind of going on, I guess, all summer long. And I want to think about how we look at that as Houston Cougar fans before we get too far.